tonight's meeting to order. I would ask that people silence their phones, please. We'll begin by a public hearing. The first one is on Ordinance 5, 2018, providing for an amendment to Chapter 13, Article 3, Section 13-17A, no truck traffic of Winslow Town Code by adding Belanger Street to list of streets. Does anybody would like to speak to Ordinance number 5, 2018? Now is the time. Seeing none, we'll move on to Ordinance number 7, 2018, providing for a moratorium ordinance regarding medical marijuana retail stores, testing facilities, and manufacturing facilities. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on Ordinance number 7, 2018? Now is the time. If not, we'll close the public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. You gotta jump up.
Earl Watts,
Yes.
District 2. I'm just wondering what makes this an emergency reading?
It's because of the fact that someone could come in and put in a facility without regulations. In other words, it could go anywhere. Prior to the new law, there was a limit, I think, of 1,000 feet from a school. And currently that limit has been removed. And so if the municipality wants to impose some limits in that regards, we have to have the moratorium. We have to go through a process of developing rules.
Okay.
And we do have a committee set up to do that.
Okay, so it isn't...
The state statute expired. Is that the best way to say it?
That goes in the 1st of December, state law.
It's actually the 13th.
Yeah. Well,
So
pretty close.
it expires on the 13th?
It goes into effect.
It goes into effect. What they pass goes into effect, which would allow retail stores to open.
So, okay. So this is just to establish town limits.
Yes, whatever the town wishes to impose, yep. Yep. Is there any other comments on resolution? Or ordinance number 7? If not, we'll close this portion of the meeting and we'll begin with the roll call.
Ray Karen.
Here.
Ken Fletcher.
Here.
Jerry Quirian.
Yeah.
Steve Russell.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Here.
Jeffrey West.
Here.
Patricia West.
And then we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have the minutes from the previous meeting. I entertain a motion to approve.
So
Moved, is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion or remissions or additions? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Unanimous. Communications. We'll begin with Hank Farah and our auditor's presentation.
All right, happy to be back. Another year, another audit down. Overall, we had some changes this year, new people on the town side. Had a few challenges, but you can see that I'm still here in a timely manner. So even though there was some challenges, we got everything done. We're kind of going to go over a few of those comments that I came up with for you guys for the audit. But overall, I want to say, with the transition, it went fairly well. I think it went better than I expected at first, because you just never know what you're going to get when you're coming out of the gate with new people in a position. And I think Tanya handled it pretty well. So overall, I'm going to go through this colorful set of graphs, which kind of explains some of the reports that we issue. Your financial statement opinion is unmodified. That's a clean opinion. It means everything is fairly stated in all material respects. We say fairly stated in all material respects because we do not test 100% of your transactions. If we did, I'd probably just be another employee here at the town. We also issue reports required by government auditing standards. And this is where we take a look at your internal control over financial reporting and let you know if there's any sort of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies within there. The significant deficiency is one that just carries on from year to year. It's due to preparation of financial statements. You rely on us as the auditors to know all the rules, and they keep getting more and more complicated. If any of you, I know you probably all have read the financial statements cover to cover by now. And you'll notice that they've added another about 5 pages in there of actuarial information regarding OPEB, which is other post-employment benefits. This deals with retirees which are allowed to stay on your health insurance plan after leaving the town. Even though they pay 100% of that premium, it still generates a liability. And there's also a liability in regards to main PERS group term life. A lot of it is very similar to that information from the net pension liability from GASB 68 and GASB's governmental accounting standards boards. Very similar, so it's a bunch of actuarial jargon, and it just kind of added a lot of extra pages to your financial statements. And personally, I don't really think much of it is very helpful or useful for the town. We also issue reports required by uniform guidance, and this is where we take a look at your federal expenditures. Almost all of your federal expenditures, or the biggest chunk, is over at the school department. Usually we test 1 of 3 programs over there. They have 3 sizable programs, Title I local entitlement, and this year we tested school lunch. Happy to say no findings within that program, so a clean report for uniform guidance. We also issue a management letter. Let you know these are comments that are below significant deficiency, but kind of opportunities for strengthening controls at the town and the school department. We always mention segregation of duties here. You have a small staff. You just don't have enough people to segregate duties properly. One of the biggest issues is the person who handles the general ledger. Tanya also has a lot of payroll duties, putting that information together for your outsourcing of the actual payment of the payroll. We also had a comment on sewer receivables, the way they post. Overall, the receivables are fine, but what they do is they don't post to the system correctly, and we usually have to come in and do an adjustment at year end. It doesn't affect the revenue at all because it's just a balance sheet transaction, but just the items just aren't posting correctly in the system. We suggested coming up with an accounting manual for when you have transitions. I know Gene was in the position for, I think, 108 years or so. And, when you have someone in a position for a very long time, you're really a lot of times not thinking of that transition period. And with her departure, retirement, it kind of came onto Tanya, and really she didn't have much of a path to follow. And I think there were some hiccups that came up, and I think she thought there was going to be a little bit more help than there was during the year. But again, I'm going to say that I think Tanya did a pretty darn good job with all the circumstances. Another comment was just routine general ledger review, and this is really just to get everybody on board inside the central office here at Town Hall. And just kind of giving you an idea of some of the items that really should be reviewed on a monthly basis. Again, I think when Tanya came in, she didn't really have a good roadmap for taking over that position. Kind of had an idea of certain items that she needed to be doing, but some things kind of got left on the wayside, and when we came here to check, we had to do a few extra adjustments in certain areas. But I think, I worked with her and Mike. We came up with some game plans going forward for handling the bank reconciliation process, which was overly complicated here. But, again, when you had 2 people in the position for many, many years, they had it down to a science, but it really wasn't very easy to do. It just, the way they had it set up was, again, way more complicated than what it needed to be. So I'm going to work with Mike and Tanya to try to simplify the process here at the town to make life a little bit easier going forward. It's always hard, I wanted to suggest some things like when Gene was here, but it's always hard to get someone who's been doing something for so many years to kind of change the way about it. And what they were doing was working and was fine, so that's why we never did have a suggestion there. But I think now with the changing of the guard, it's a good time to change procedures, get a couple better controls in place in the meantime. And I said, this is the perfect opportunity. And again, I'm sure Mike's not going to be your town manager forever either. So having a good transition and getting that accounting policies in place, so when the next person steps in, they have something to follow, I think is very important for the town. Any questions? So let's move into some financial figures. Fund balance. Everybody wants to talk about fund balance in the general fund, and all of these items include the school department. Overall fund balance went down around $214,000 from the prior year. The town fund balance increased around $78,000. Almost all of that was in the assigned portion of your fund balance because you set up that MSW reserve and that really went up by about 70 some odd thousand, that reserve, and so that's almost all of your increase, because the town really almost kind of broke even in the normal budget to actual portion of the general fund. The school department, their fund balance decreased by almost 300,000. They did budget to use 200,000 of fund balance during the year, so that was expected. And then their teacher summer salary accrual, which is kind of non-budgetary, went up 100,000 as well. So in honesty, both the budget to actuals came in very close, and we'll talk about those items. Assigned fund balance is at 514,000. Page 33, your financial statements, has a detailed listing. Some of the larger items is sewer. This is around 286,000 fund balance for sewer. That MSW reserve that was set up is around 72,000 in recreation. You could, if you take a look, you can see assigned went from 800,000 to 514,000. The reason for that decrease is because you didn't budget to use fund balance in your FY19 budget. So you budgeted to use, I think, 346,000 for FY18. That means it was assigned in 17 for 18, so you don't have that same assignment. And so what happens is you can also see that there is an increase in your unassigned fund balance, and that's because you didn't assign it to use for the next year. And then just the school deficit, that includes your teacher summer salaries accrual. The teacher summer salary liability is sitting around 1.2 million at the end of the current fiscal year. So let's take a look at what happened with your revenues. Taxes, you can see you had a positive variance in taxes. Almost all of that is from excise coming in higher than budgeted. I think we've seen throughout the state in fiscal year 18 that most places are collecting a lot more excise tax this year. It's been trending upward. Your intergovernmental revenue came in over budget. Your state subsidy and your state revenue sharing were pretty much on point. Where you made out was state agency client students. You had more of those than expected at the school department. But then on the flip side, for charges for services, the tuition students came in under what was anticipated. There was a pretty large drop with tuition revenue from FY17 to FY18 on the school side. And then there's other revenues. Higher than budgeted due to sale of town-owned property. You have some large town-owned property sales, and that pretty much kept you from your fund balance going down for the year with that huge positive variance, because you budgeted to use 346,000 of fund balance, and I always like to explain it as if you guys were the perfect budgeters and everything came in spot on, your fund balance would have went down 346,000, but instead you almost broke even by the end of the year. And I think that sale of town-owned property was a big chunk of that, because I think it was like almost $150,000. On the expenditure side, overall expenditures came in pretty close to a budget, except for public works. They came in over budget due to overtime and ice control, just the severity of winter. Again, something else we've seen throughout the communities in Maine in FY18 is a lot more snow plowing happened in 18 than happened in 17. On the other portion, it came in under budget because you had savings in insurance over there. But everything else you can see is pretty darn close. That actual comes pretty darn close to that budget in most cases. And especially on the school side with a budget of $14 million, they were only off $1,000. And so, you know, cutting it pretty slim, but, you know, staying under that budget mark. Unassigned fund balance is a percentage of budget. You can see from 14 to 17, the orange and the blue bar were both decreasing. You know, not a trend that you want, not a trend that rating agencies look for. Without assigning fund balance to use in fiscal year 19, as I mentioned earlier, your unassigned went up. So you can see that your unassigned went from a 13.2% of your budget up to 14.6%. And town and school, when you include the town deficit, kind of pretty much stayed on par at 10.27. Revenue distribution, and I like to talk about this one because it's, you know, I probably don't need to tell everybody that the state kind of keeps giving you less and less money every year, and they're requiring you to raise it locally. Overall, your local taxes increased about 1% from the prior year for your total revenue in the general fund. That would be expected. You increased the mill rate for FY18. Intergovernmental has stayed pretty steady between 2014 to 18, handling around 36.5%, bouncing in between 36 and 37. Overall, your local property taxes, including excise, and your intergovernmental revenue from the state of Maine makes up almost 90% of your revenues in the general fund. So you're really relying on either state taxes or local taxes to fund your general fund. On the school side, you can see that local appropriation percentage went up quite a bit, went from almost 45% to 46.36%, and the intergovernmental actually increased slightly as well. For on the school side, pretty much 95.5% of their revenues in the general fund are made up of either local or state monies. Really, the difference here was the change in percentages was that tuition revenue really getting knocked down by 137,000, the decrease. So it ended up being, if it would have stayed a little bit, if it would have stayed close to the same, you would have seen that local appropriation number not increase as much because you just didn't have enough other types of revenues to cover it. On the intergovernmental side, state subsidy was down 50,000 from the prior year, so the state cut you out 50. But I mentioned earlier that your state agency client money came in above, and it almost netted exactly. So kind of went really good on that section by getting some state agency client money to make up for that loss of subsidy. The next two graphs go hand in hand. They're two pie charts. And this is really to give you a look at 2017 versus 18 and where any sort of large changes. You'll notice that almost everything is pretty much the same except for two categories, which are debt service and transfers out. Debt service is down around 2.5%, and that was because you paid off, I think it was the Crow bond was paid off in FY17, so you don't have those debt payments. So that's why your debt service went from 5.5% of your budget down to 3%. And also, even though it's lumped in with the education, they paid off 2 bonds in FY17 as well, so their debt service was down. Obviously, it might go back up here very soon. Transfers out, you just increased your transfers to your capital improvement fund. You transferred in 285,000 more in FY18 than you did in 17, so that's why you're seeing that percentage up about 1.5%. And also your TIF transfers increased about 45,000 between those 2 years. And last but not least, because I don't want this to get ignored, is the school lunch deficit. You see that deficit sitting at about 210,000. Now, a lot of times with school lunch deficits, since it's not in your face, because everybody always wants to talk about the general fund, it's kind of off to the side in a set of financial statements. People don't notice it. You can see that fund balance stayed relatively the same. It actually went down $956. But that's with a $60,000 transfer in from the general fund. This deficit's most likely going to have to be handled from transfers in from your general fund to eventually knock this down to zero. Other communities are kind of in the same boat. School lunch is kind of a loser. You're only allowed to charge maybe $2.75 for a lunch, which I challenge anybody to go get lunch for $2.75 anywhere. And the cost of food is going up, and with school lunch, they're having a lot of the rules change at the federal level, making them serve healthier food, and healthier food usually is more expensive as well. It's a trend that we're seeing across the state. You guys aren't as bad as losers as some of what I see. You're only really 60,000, running in the red 60,000 a year, where I have places that are a couple 100,000 in the red a year. One place is 400,000. I won't name them, but their school lunch is losing 400,000 a year that they're having to cover with the general fund monies. So, but I don't want this to get ignored, because this is the type of thing that can affect cash flow when you're not noticing it. And considering that the fund balance, the general fund balance in the school also went down 200,000, and they're almost at a negative 1 million. And I know we all don't count the summer salaries as a real liability, so you kind of have that buffer because those get paid in July and August. But this could eventually affect cash flow if it isn't handled in the near future. So the 60,000 transfers covering the current year deficits, but it's not covering all these deficits that built up over the years. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions for me about any of the information I went over, any of the audit procedures, or anything of that nature?
I do want to thank you, though, Hank. You do a good job, and We appreciate the work that you do and the time that you spend doing the audit, so thank you.
You're welcome, and I want to say, both sides, both town and school was prepared. You know, I think, you know, school, I've been working with them for quite a while. I actually used to work with Paul over at Waterville, when we did that audit. They were very well prepared, ready and raring to go when we got here, which gets us out, and, you know, we're usually here over a 2-week time span, about 4 days a week, so about 8 days. And they did a really good job of getting us in and out, and I think Tanya did a really good job under, you know, never going through an audit before. First go around, you know, there were, like I said, there were challenges, but I think she did really well for a first go around, and, you know, helped us out wherever we needed, and knew where we were getting at, and hopefully, you know, working with Mike and Tanya, we'll get some other procedures in place so it'll even get easier for her going forward.
Raymond, go ahead.
Well, I know when I get audited at the mill, usually, sometime we have an auditor that comes twice in a row, but never a long-term auditor. You know, they always change auditors just to see something different. I know you know the town so well and you're helping us out right now and stuff, but what is the policy with, like, auditors? How many years in a row do they come and audit a facility?
In honesty, if you ask Mike, I always bring, I've had different staff with me who do the work, so I have had different sets of eyes. I'm kind of the overseer of the audit, but we have had different staff. You know, we at RKO were large enough that we say when people do have that, you know, concern whether they feel like an auditor rotation is warranted, we always can say that we can swap partners, swap teams if that was something that was needed. You know, I have been working on this audit for a while. You know, I think that's helpful in this case because I think I helped, you know, transition Tanya because I kind of knew a lot of what goes on here at the town. But we've had different staff. I think Marcus has been on this audit for 2 years now, and prior to that I had a few other people. So almost every 2 or 3 years I've had different staff here, and they do the grunt work, not me.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting that you not come, because obviously, at this point in time in our process is that we need steady, you know, we need some people with some experience to guide us through with the new employees, and you're very helpful, it seems to be very helpful in that, and I want that to continue. And if we can streamline something, then we definitely should do that. And we thank you for that and your extra that you've done to help us here at the town, get us through a period where we've lost 2 really, you know, employees that together have been here for close to probably 80+ years at that time. So it's very, very good, and we thank you for the effort that you're putting in to help us through.
And I think too, again, this still went out timely with that transition. Like the audit got done, so like that's, and you gotta realize I don't put together the information, I'm not allowed to, because I'm the auditor. So, you know, it was their hard work that got this to still happen. You know, a lot of times when I see a transition, I won't, you know, where I'd normally be, I might not be there till January or February talking about the audit because of the struggles, you know, that can happen. But still, you know, I think Tanya put in the work and put in the work to get this done and make sure that, you know, she understood what we were doing along the way, so.
Yeah. A lot of times we just don't thank people for the effort they put in town and our town employees, but I'm just saying, for this particular time, for the whole town, is thank you for getting us through this transitional period, and thank the town employees too for that.
I appreciate that.
Ken, did you have?
Yes, good, Mr. Chairman, if this probably isn't a question that you would know, but I think the school folks would probably can help me understand this. It is my understanding that the school department found $113,800 to pay for some of the engineering and architectural costs up through June 30th. Would that money show up in this audit? If I'm understanding it correctly.
I don't want to say anything because I don't know about this magical 113. Anytime I hear found and money, I don't really buy into that. That's usually like a question people like to ask me when I'm sitting here. Hey, did you find that money yet? You know, I'd have to look into. I don't know anything about that number specifically or remember it, but you know, if it happened in FY19, I wouldn't have looked at any of that type of information yet anyway.
And you know, if it could, Mr. Chairman, I posed that question through Peter and Joel a couple of weeks ago. And I'm wondering if they've been able to find, if it is correct that $113,000 was found to be able to pay for the architect and the engineering costs we'd incurred on the school renovation up through June 30th. Now, maybe I haven't got it right, so maybe we didn't find 113,000.
Well, that was money, you do have it right, it was 113,882 or something along those lines, don't hold me to that. That was over a 2-year span.
Okay,
So when he started his work a couple of years ago, we were being billed for that work. There was no money budgeted for that in the regular budget. And so for that first year, that came out of the regular budget, we absorbed it. Last year, that came out of main care money. Didn't come out of the regular budget.
so would it show up in the expenditures for the school department last year, I'll say?
It would.
Yes, it would have to. If they spent the money, it would be in those school
Okay,
expenditures.
so, you know, the 14 million, whatever the total amount was, 14,468,000, that included that money wherever you found it. So that was included in that operating budget, I'll call it that.
What that means is we didn't get something and we had less to push forward.
Right, so you didn't do something else and use that money to pay for those fees. Okay, thank you. You know, I just want to make sure I was understanding it. Pardon?
Yes, to the chair, I don't mind coming in and talk to you guys every year, you know, it's enjoyable to come in and go through these things with you.
Might be the first time that's ever been said.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
And I appreciate you bringing up the issue of the school lunch, because I'm still trying to understand that, and we've discussed it. So one of the things we need to put on our discussion topics for the budget work coming up is what's the plan? Is there any way that that's gonna be corrected, and so we don't keep pulling 50 or 60,000, really, it's coming from tax dollars? And just to get a longer term view of that, is that going away? Is that gonna improve after we have the new cafeteria and all that stuff? Or are we gonna have to commit to do that on a continuum? So it's a question.
Yeah, I guess I would ask Hank part of that question. You mentioned that our deficit was 60,000 in that program, and other towns have much higher. Are other towns doing better and less than 60? And how are they doing it? What's the difference?
I don't know the magic way to fix school lunch, and I do have some communities that do show up in the black, but in all honesty, I think they charge more things to the general fund than.
So they still pay for it out of the general fund?
I think what happens is some places will charge the benefits to the general fund for school lunch employees, or some places will charge, they'll charge the director to the general fund. They ended up, I think if they took all the costs that went into school lunch, that most likely they might be losers too.
I can't understand if we can only charge $2.75 a lunch. We're losing money every time someone eats in that
And
cafeteria.
and the federal reimbursement rate isn't much either. So every free lunch that you give out, I think you get reimbursed $2.40 some odd cents. For every paid lunch, you get 4 cents, and reduced, even though you charge 40, you get $1 something. It really isn't a very large amount that you're getting back. And again, costs keep going up. And what my school lunch directors, from talking to them when finding out, is, okay, so you're trying to make up that revenue that you're losing, so you charge more. Well, guess what? When you charge more, less people buy your lunch. When you start serving healthier food, a lot of people don't like healthy food. They want French fries and pizza. Guess what they do? They don't buy the lunch. So now you still buy the food costs,
Right.
but now you're even selling even less lunch. And, that's what's causing the deficits to increase even more recently than what they have in the past. And I really think with all the new federal mandates that were out there for changing the menus and making them healthy, they started seeing a decrease of purchases in lunch, and then they had to start raising prices to make up for that, and then that started dropping as well. So I wish I could give you a great answer to say, here's what it'll do to fix your school lunch program, but I really don't have that answer, because I'm really not on that side of the fence. I'm always on,
Right.
the outside looking in.
Good, Mr. Chairman, I did take a look. It's actually in Exhibit C2, and if you go back and look at FY13, we were 23,000 in the red. And that's increased every year since that. So now, last year, we were about 61,000 in the red. So I really do think that we need to have the discussion with the folks that are in that line of work to try to understand what are all those factors and what things we can control. Because if you plot that out and you look at that trend line, it seems to suggest that we're gonna have to keep putting more and more and more in for the program. And if that's the case, that's the case, but I think we do need to have that discussion at the appropriate time.
And that's
Thank you.
also what I'm seeing around is that the transfers from general fund to the school lunch programs are getting larger, you know, and some of my communities who've had I had one who ran about a $400,000 deficit, not just per year, like overall, and they tried to come up with like a 5-year plan to fund that because, you know, they didn't want to just do it. You can't just make up 200,000 at once, and, you know, they were like, okay, well, we're gonna do, you know, we're gonna try to do 80-some-odd thousand a year, you know, and then eventually they got out of the hole, and now they're just doing transfers just to cover the yearly deficit. But they came up, they were using a 5-year plan to really get this back to black, and then saying, okay, we only need to transfer 80 a year to cover the current year deficits to stay at 0. But with the current trends, I don't think you're gonna get out of it that easily.
Mr. Chairman, I want to drag this out. We approved the bond, and I put a certain amount of that money was to significantly improve, I call it the functionality of the cafeteria, right? You know, all those things, and what I thought I understood was when we do that, we're gonna increase business. Now, as we look ahead to that, I think it'd be important, not that that's gonna happen this year, but within 2 years, that's gonna happen, and so that's where I think we need to have that discussion. Thank you.
Any further questions for Hank? We're all set?
Yep.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
appreciate your work.
Have a wonderful rest of your meeting.
Okay, now we will open up the meeting for public comment. This is a chance for someone, a taxpayer living in Winslow, to come up to the mic and talk on any subject they wish. And we have a 2-minute limit.
I'm William Sadowski. I manage a rental property on Clinton Avenue. In recent weeks, the town of Winslow had paving done on Clinton Avenue,
Yeah.
which was a very fine job. One of my tenants, I don't know how to put it, had an implication with one of the workers of the paving company. They had a vehicle parked in my dooryard. And when this woman and her mother wanted to go in the dooryard, they asked them to move the vehicle, and the gentleman got very irate, and he swore at her. And her husband came along, and he had words with this gentleman, and the Winslow Police Department was called in, and the Winslow Police Department said, if you could have called me a little bit earlier, we could have done something. Now, this person, this woman and her mother were trying to get into the dooryard that they rent. And this gentleman had no right to be in that dooryard. So I'd like to know what you people would like to do about this problem.
Because if it was a town employee, we'd have more to say. I don't know if it's a subcontract. No.
Yeah, I think I'll have to have a conversation with
Yeah,
the chief,
yeah,
just to
well,
find out what.
Yeah, we'll figure out something. I
Okay,
apologize.
would you get back to me in a letter
Yeah.
so that I can get back to my tenant? You know, they pay decent money
Yep.
to live there, and They don't need these kind of
That's
hassles.
no excuse for being rude, you're right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Could I, do you know what date that was?
No, I don't. But I can find out from the tenant.
That would be great, thank you.
He's got pictures of the vehicle, he's got a license plate and all this
You
stuff.
just, if I have the date, then I can coordinate.
Well, your police officer ought to have the date.
Any further public comments? If not, we'll close that portion of the meeting, and we'll move on to reports, committees, and commissions. We'll begin with the town manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, at an earlier council meeting, I had given all of you our ordinance updates. And so we've had one meeting where we went through actually chapter 14. And so what I'd like to do tonight is to schedule another workshop where we can go through this pamphlet from pages 8 through 34. And the way I'd like to handle that is, when we did chapter 14, I went through each one individually, and what I'd like to do this time to expedite things would be to have the council let me know which ones you'd like to discuss at the workshop, or which ones you think you need more information on. Because a lot of them are just technical corrections.
Yeah, okay.
So, let me just pull my calendar up. Today's the 13th. Would the week of November 26th, would that work for everyone?
Yeah, it's fine with me.
I think it would work for me, yes.
Okay.
At this point, it does.
So we'll pick that Monday?
Yep, 26th.
6 p.m.?
Or earlier if you want to.
And what pages again, Mike, were we gonna do?
Pages 8 through 34. Great.
Mike?
Yep.
If I might, I know that it was somewhat painful evening, but I think that by going through the individual ones, that it spurs, and other people have commented, it spurred conversation, and it spurred some learning and some things that we wouldn't normally have known just when I went through it, in areas that I don't know about if we don't go through it individually. And I know that it was, somewhat painful, but I'm concerned that something will be left if we don't do individual ones. And I'm just open that up to the rest of the
Actually, it was
council.
pretty productive, I thought.
Okay. So what we can do is,
Didn't take that long to do it, so.
if you have anything in particular that you have questions on, if you could let me know ahead of time.
I will.
So we can prepare for it.
Yep.
And then we'll just go through them.
Yep,
Yep.
that might expedite it a little bit.
Yeah,
For the most part, it was just changing a word here, changing a word there.
right, right.
Pages 8 to 34.
Yes. And are there any questions about the school renovation bond? I tried to clarify that. Sorry for the confusion. But if there are no questions, then that's all I had.
Any questions for the town manager?
Yep.
Do you? Go ahead.
Okay, I see that Clinton Avenue was basically, I'd say 100% complete. There might be a little stuff to be done. But then we're on Halifax and Hollowell. They don't, both of them have not been paved yet. Halifax has not been reopened. I'm getting questions about when. I know that they were working on Hollowell today, pouring in rain. There must have been mixing up soup and mud. When are we gonna be paving those two?
I'll defer that to the Public Works Director.
Halifax will be paved tomorrow.
Tomorrow and Thursday?
There'll be a stretch on Hollowell that won't be done. There's still 150 feet of storm drain down towards Billadoes.
Yeah.
We're waiting for Ranger to get that structure in.
So by Friday, will they be driving be able to
They'll
go
be driving through Halifax tomorrow.
Okay. Well, that's good news, I think, people in that area.
I mean, we could have opened it on the weekend, but they were just afraid of the rain that was coming. That it would just beat it and make it worse than it was, so we kept it closed.
Yeah.
It's ready to pave right now, we're just waiting for it to dry up. It'll be cold tomorrow, it's gonna get paved. We can't, you know,
Yeah.
we can't follow all the technicalities, we'll never get it paved, so.
Right, right.
Are we looking at doing through the chair, through the town manager, to you, Paul? Is this gonna be temporary pavement or the binder?
No, this is binder, and if it doesn't fall apart this winter, it's probably gonna stay. We'll take some testing in the spring, see what it does.
Now, that 150 feet on Hollowell that we're not ready to pave, it's supposed to snow Friday.
We'll plow 3/4 of it, and that little section there, we'll make it work. We won't let anybody get stuck. They're hoping to get most of it rebased by Fridays.
Yeah, because I don't wanna leave town. You know, for that, section that is gonna be still on dirt.
They'll probably be on dirt for the weekend, but we plowed dirt roads before too, so it won't be the end of the world. It's not that they're not giving it for the snow, so I hope.
I don't know, say that, but snowing almost every other day.
It'll turn around, we gotta have 60 degrees of weather again sometime, don't we? Right?
Just one question. When I asked you that question before the meeting, that, you know, the 72-inch pipe that handles the stream
Yes.
that's going through, there's a portion left
Yes.
that's not complete, and we can't discharge from that pipe onto that section into Sebastopol.
Well, right now, it's discharging into the old pipe that was still there.
Oh, that's still there, okay, 'cause I was concerned that was going into the sewer system and that might
No,
cause some problems.
no.
So it is in the old pipe,
It-
okay.
It's discharging to the old pipe as good as the old pipe is, but
Yep.
it's no worse than before we started.
Right, so it's functional.
It's
Okay,
functional.
that's all.
It's so much
question.
functional,
Okay,
but
okay.
the original plan to eliminate some of that pipe was turned down by DEP because of the little stream that's there, so the alternative was go back to the way it was, take it all the way out to the Sebastopol, have a closed system, so.
Yeah, and that might not be this year or.
They're gonna work as long as they can, it's gonna depend what the weather does, I mean, if you can turn cold and dry, they can work.
And that portion of the old pipe is still functional for the
Yes.
winter, and that's
Yeah.
no cause for
And if something
concern.
else collapses, it's not gonna create a catastrophe like it did last year, so.
Yep, okay.
We all set? Paul? Thank you, Paul. And we're done with the town manager's report. We have the other department heads' reports, the finance report and the financial report. Are there any questions on those? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve our report.
Second.
And a second. Moving a second. Any questions or discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. We will move on to old business. We'll begin with ordinance number 5, 2018, providing for an amendment to Chapter 13, Article 3, Section 13-17A, no truck traffic on the Winslow Town Code by adding Malaysia Street to the list of streets. This is the second reading. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Is that, raise a show of hands, or is that a
Be a
roll call?
roll call?
Please, roll call, please.
So Ken Fletcher?
Yes.
Ray Karen?
Yes.
Jeff West?
No.
Jerry Querian?
Yes.
Ben Twitchell?
Yes.
Patricia's not here. Steve Russell?
Yes.
So it's gonna be 5-1.
Six.
One absent.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, no, that's right, 5-1, excuse me.
Okay, it's been requested that I take one of the items of new business out of order. And do I have resolution 11 on the table?
Section 36.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm number 11, okay. Okay, I'm gonna move to resolution number 36, 2018, take that out of order, that's the last on our agenda. There's some people here that will get out of town, I guess. Resolution number 36, 2018, a resolution providing for authorization of the town manager to prepare a TIF for standard waterproofing Inc. of Waterville. Be it resolved by Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows, whereas Standard Waterproofing Inc. of Waterville would like a 15-year TIF, which will allow them to relocate their business to Winslow. And whereas the town manager is in discussions with the Central Maine Growth Council to prepare a TIF application. Now therefore, be resolved by Town Council of the Town of Winslow that the town manager is hereby authorized to prepare a TIF for standard waterproofing Inc. of Waterville.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, open for discussion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may, so the purpose of the resolution is to let the business know the level of the town's interest in proceeding with the TIF. If I'm authorized and we get to the TIF application, that will come back to the council for final approval.
So the specifics on the length and the percentage and all that will be worked out, but it's just that we agree that a TIF is on the table.
She'll authorize
That
me.
we'll authorize it. Yeah.
Start the process. Teresa Thompson is here from Standard Waterproofing.
Mike, I have some general handouts.
Okay.
All right.
Just a very preliminary scoping memo
Yep.
on the project. Please see this for what it is, a draft kind of representing where we've been, where we're going, with the general economics behind it. But please know that it's certainly subject to change, and further review just gives you something to look at as well. Including on page 5 there, you do have a plat map. A plat map which references the landscape context. You're going to hear about map 1, lot 25A, on Route 201 there.
Thank you.
And for folks not familiar, that's right in between Birdie Drive and Millennial Drive. It is currently a raw and vacant 3.01 acre parcel.
So my name is Teresa Thompson, and I'm the president of Standard Waterproofing. We're currently located in Waterville, Maine. Standard Waterproofing, just to give you an overview of who we are and what we do. We are a family-owned business. We've been in business for over 25 years. I've been president of Standard Waterproofing for 2.5 years, and I purchased the company from my parents. We are a commercial waterproofing specialty business. So it's a very niche market that we do serve. What we do is, commercial building is built by a general contractor and they hire subs. We would install the below grade waterproofing, the above grade air vapor barrier, joint sealants, spray foam, building expansion joints, and under slab vapor barriers. We also do masonry restoration, so we repair, we don't build new, and we also do other specialty coatings such as facade stuccos and traffic coatings and clear penetrating sealers. What we've recently grown into a new market, which is spray fireproofing. We started doing spray fireproofing approximately 2.5 years ago when I took over ownership of Standard Waterproofing. We chose to go into the new market to expand and grow our business. I am in my mid-30s, and so I have a fair amount of energy and desire to have a thriving and growing business. So, you know, from a market share percentage, we really dominate our market, and so for growth, we needed to go into a new market. And the fireproofing industry it's in the same division, the same kind of category for general contractors as where we are typically seen. So that's what Standard Waterproofing is in a nutshell. There's approximately 45 of us at Standard Waterproofing, and we are a very tight-knit team, and we really look out for each other and care about growing as a team together. And I have a really nice benefit package for my employees, and when they come to Standard Waterproofing, they tend to stay with us. So, coming to Winslow, what we plan to do here in the town of Winslow is grow. We plan to come here to stay. Like I said, we've owned this business as a family for 25 years, and I envision a lot of years ahead of of myself here. It would be our headquarters, and it would be, like I said, for the long haul. I do anticipate growth. I've been with Standard Waterproofing for 13 years. In that time period, we've doubled in size. So I think in the next 10 plus years, I would anticipate similar growth on that par. For the town of Winslow, I would say that as a resident here, you know, we really do want to serve the community and help out. And I think that that's one thing that I personally find attractive about Winslow is there's a strong sense of community here. So I look forward to seeing what we can contribute. The growth in the TIF application, you'll see kind of some projections for adding employees. That's both management, office, and in the field sort of staff. And I think that a lot of that will have to do with the fireproofing as that grows. We've only been in the market for 2 years, so we've been kind of hesitant to grab big jobs, but the big jobs are there for us as we grow.
Does anybody have any specific questions they'd like to ask? Yeah, Raymond, go ahead.
Where are they in the process of the planning board and all that, Mike?
You haven't been before the planning board. It's a principal use.
Yeah.
Because we just rezoned that.
Right, yeah, we did. It's mixed use. So it's an allowable use.
Consistent with the existing
Yeah.
zoning and also consistent with the landscape context of the other businesses in the area. I think a little bit different function and form, like Alcon, for example, and Louisville Drive.
Right.
Light manufacturing, clear standard.
Of course, this TIF will be contingent on all the planning board and all the zoning stuff that goes on.
Yeah, any permitting,
Yeah. Any further questions you'd like to ask? No?
Yes, one question. Is this lot just in front of the Baptist church
That's correct, yes.
Right. and next to the American Legion?
That's correct, yes.
Any further questions or discussions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your
Thanks,
time.
appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming to Winslow.
Got one question. Are we gonna have to put a turning lane?
Well, they'll need
That's
to get
farther down.
they'll need to get a permit
That's
from.
permit from DOT, yeah. Okay, great. So, is there any further discussion on resolution number 36? And so would you have a TIF available for us to vote on next meeting or the meeting after? What are you anticipating?
I don't know if we'll have it for the next meeting.
Right, it's gonna be public.
Marvin, if you wanna comment on it.
I want to manage expectations. Currently, I feel like the framework is there. It is definitely a good chance, but knowing during the holiday season,
Right.
everything takes twice as long as it should. I'm going to, in order to really try to keep costs down for the municipality as well as the business, we're going to try to draft as much of that internally, including the financial analysis. But obviously, the town will want to do its due diligence, as it does with the rest of its TIFs. And my understanding, that will have some legal review by Freddie Flaherty's municipal government team. So to answer your question shortly, that's our goal.
Okay. Yep, appreciate it, thank you.
And this is just to authorize the town manager to
Pursue it.
Start the process, yep. Yep, and we will vote on the final TIF.
Yeah. We're gonna have to vote on this.
Yes, we have to vote on this right now. So, is there any further discussion or questions about resolution 36? If not, we'll have a vote. You all set? Go ahead.
It's for all in favor?
Oh, okay, this is
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was expecting a roll call, that's my fault, I'm
And
gonna have
all
to get that.
opposed? Perfect, thank you.
Now we'll move to the regular order of business.
Question.
Yes.
I'll go with this one. Is, how about combining a couple of these together? Resolution 4 and 7, they're both the same. I'm using one of your trucks.
Your junkyard permit.
Hold on, I'm looking at the agenda. I was looking.
29 and 32.
Oh, okay, you went by 4, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, resolution 29, you're saying,
Right, and 32.
and 32, which is the junkyard approvals?
Yes.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to take resolution 29 and 32 out of order and combine them together in one vote. Moved?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on resolution 29 and 32?
No?
If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously.
Okay, how about resolution 30 and 33? Apply for applications for a Class 1 liquor license and an entertainment license.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to take those two resolutions together as one.
So moved.
Moved and
Second.
seconded. So that is resolution number 30 and resolution number 33. Any discussion on those two resolutions? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. Okay, now I'm losing my track. You've got me all. Okay, I guess we're gonna begin now with ordinance number 6, correct? Ordinance number 6, 2018, an ordinance providing for the amendment of ordinance number 4, 2002, administration of general assistance. Be it ordained by the Town Council, Town of Winslow as follows, whereas the Town Council established an ordinance for the administration of general assistance, ordinance number 4, 2002, and whereas the Maine Municipal Association has provided an update to the model general assistance ordinance, and whereas the new proposed update changes are for the period October 1st, 2018 to September 30th, 2019. Now therefore be enacted by the Town Council, Town of Winslow, that ordinance number 4, 2002 be amended to include the appendices for the period of October 1st, 2018 to September 30th, 2019. What is your pleasure?
So move.
And a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, we will have a roll call on that one, right? On
Yes.
ordinances? Yes.
Okay, and this is on order number,
Ordinance number 6.
Thank you.
2018. I'm having trouble keeping them all straight tonight too, there's a lot of them.
okay, so, number 6. Ken Fletcher,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Jerry Querian,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes.
So it will be 6-0.
Okay, do I want to read all the whereases on the next one, which is ordinance number 7?
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I move that we dispense with the reading of all those, whereas,
And I'll read the title.
read the title.
So, second.
Everybody's in agreement with that? Okay. Ordinance number 7, 2018, ordinance providing for a moratorium ordinance regarding medical marijuana retail stores, testing facilities, and manufacturing facilities. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Moved, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Open for discussion.
If I may, the reason for this is that the moratorium that we had expired yesterday, and so this will just extend it beyond the 13th, which is when the state law goes into effect, December 13th.
Yes, Ben?
I got a question. You want to put it out another 90 days? I mean, when the state law takes effect the 13th of December. And the idea of these moratoriums were to do a moratorium in Winslow until the state law thing was taken care of.
The reason I picked 91 days
Yeah.
is because it's an emergency ordinance, and our charter says that it expires after 91 days. Unless the council come back and take further action on it.
Because once the state law comes into effect on the 13th of December,
We still need to look at their laws and their regulations and see what we wanna tweak.
Well, we could do that anyway.
Well, we've started a committee. We've appointed, what, one person from the public, correct?
Yes.
Well, I don't know if we have an official seating of the other committee members, have we? And
Yeah, that's what I mean, I never
we
heard
do,
anything on that.
we have basically 3 months to have that committee meet and discuss what we want to enact, right?
And police chief and I have been going back and forth. He's been gathering data, so I think
Okay.
we're at a point now where we can call a meeting.
Okay.
And at least get started having a discussion.
You have to put this out 90 days instead of 30 or 60.
Well, I just went by the charter. The charter said it expires after 91 days if it's an emergency ordinance, which is what this is.
Okay, okay.
But we could always pull back if we wanted to.
At some point, yeah.
At some point, we're gonna have something come before us from the committee, a recommendation from the committee.
Yeah.
Okay,
And we already have a business in operation.
yeah. Both types, you got a sales and you got a manufacturing.
Any further discussion on ordinance number 7? We're all set, roll call
Roll
vote.
call, Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Jerry Kurian.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
And Steve Russell.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Yep. We will now move on to order number 20, 2018. An order providing for authorization of the town manager to purchase a 2018 Chevrolet Tahoe to outfit the vehicle to be used by the fire chief at a total cost of $55,344.89. Be it ordered by Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows, whereas the fire chief is in need of a suitable fire command vehicle, and whereas Quirk Auto Group has a 2018 Chevy Tahoe for $37.58, and whereas the cost to outfit the vehicle is $18,286.89, and whereas the fire truck capital line item has enough funds for purchasing and outfitting fire command vehicle, now therefore be ordained by the Town Council of Town Winslow, the town manager is to purchase a 2018 Chevy Tahoe and to outfit the vehicle to be used for the fire chief at a total cost of $55,344.89.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded, open for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I had asked the chief to look for a suitable vehicle, and this one came up. I guess it was a leftover police vehicle. The price, it's a pretty good price for that vehicle, and I think it would certainly meet the needs of the fire chief and the fire department.
It's a new one.
Yes. Yeah.
Just have one question.
Go ahead.
What are we looking at lifespan?
This lifespan,
I would say at least 10 years at a bare minimum, given the geographic piece.
And just for general, what does he use now, and why do we feel he needs a new vehicle at this particular time, just so people can hear why that is?
yeah, I think the vehicle he's using now is, I'm not sure what year it is.
2011.
It's a 2011, it's an
Yep.
old vehicle. Transmission would likely need to be
Yep.
replaced. The vehicle's worn out, it's reached its useful.
Basically not safe to drive in an
Probably.
emergency situation.
Right.
But also, you're not looking at a good command vehicle at that point either.
Right.
And this is 4-wheel drive, wintertime, and all that.
And then,
And some of the dirt roads we have.
I just wanna make sure that
Yeah,
people
why not?
understand,
Yep.
watching it, why we're doing this,
Right,
and why we're
right.
doing this expenditure.
and
True.
also,
True.
I mean, if I can throw it in, I mean, we used to give the former chief a stipend towards his own personal vehicle. We're gonna own this one. I mean, realistically.
Any further discussion?
Question
Yes.
that I have is, this Tahoe, is that brand spanking new?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
No, in other words, that was demonstrator or just leftover?
Well, I don't know, chief, if you,
What,
Careful.
rest of that chair. I've been in the search since I got here for a vehicle. Chief O'Leary forwarded a email from Leo Chicoine, who sells a lot of these vehicles to different municipalities. There was a municipality that ordered this vehicle. They backed out of the deal. we were to authorize the purchase of a vehicle, it would be a 2019, and it would take, I think they were telling me at a minimum 12 to 16 weeks for delivery. That puts us almost into what, March, April, and so I contacted Leo up there at Quirk, and he's been gracious enough to hold it until after this meeting, but it is a brand new 2018 Chevy Tahoe. Part of the cost that is detailed, itemized, is the command component in the rear, whereby we have the need to run an incident from the rear. I, along with Chief O'Leary or whoever happens to be working to mitigate the incident, have a place and a platform with which to work. It's not just for now. I believe it would be a great vehicle into the future. So.
Any further questions while the chief is up there? Go ahead.
Yeah, how, through the chair, how long will it take them to retrofit it for what you need? If it's all, if you get the truck there now?
I've been in touch with Rusty down there at Yankee.
Yeah,
And I told him, you know,
Yeah.
I want it by Thanksgiving. And he seemed to think that he could pretty much outfit it by Thanksgiving, with the exception of the box in the back.
Yeah.
That needs to be built, shipped, and then he can take care of it from there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other discussion?
One more
Questions?
question. So, we should get this probably in the next week or two if we approve it.
We would have to dispense with the second.
Second
Correct, we'll have
reading.
to
I
waive
was
this,
gonna-
yes, we'll have to waive this.
What's gonna happen with the Crown Vic? Put it up for a bid?
Probably I'll auction it, you know, and get what we can for it.
Yep.
If
Along with everything else that we have, we're holding.
anything. Right.
I'll sell it to you.
Oh.
We'll give it to you.
Can we add that to this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further questions? Discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call vote.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
And Steve Russell.
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you.
To the chair.
Yes.
So, suspend the second reading.
Your motion is to suspend the second reading. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion on suspending the second reading? If not, we'll have a roll call vote.
Ken Fletcher.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
And Steve Russell.
Yes.
Perfect. 6-0.
Okay, we've done the
waiving it.
next two, and we will now
Did
move.
you mention that we already have the money?
Yes.
No, I'm just
We
thinking
can
out
go
loud
to the
here.
school department, they'll find it.
That's what I thought it said, but.
We will move on to resolution number 31, 2018, a resolution providing for authorization for the town manager to arrange for Winslow residents and businesses to drop off recycling materials at One Recycling, Inc. on the Armory Road in Waterville. Be resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow as follows, whereas on June 12, 2017, the Town Council authorized a recycling pilot project at the library, and whereas the pilot consisted of several zero-sort containers and corrugated cardboard containers, and whereas during the pilot project, contaminated zero-sort containers became unacceptable and have been routinely taken to the landfill, and whereas discontinuing the recycling program at the library and arranging for Winslow residents and businesses to drop off recycling material at Recycling will save the town $34,080 annually. Now, therefore, be resolved, the Town Council, Town Manager is hereby authorized to arrange for the Winslow residents and businesses to drop off recycling materials at One Recycling, Inc. on the Armory Road in Waterville.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Open for discussion.
You know, if I could, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would just give you my thoughts on this.
Yep.
What has happened, and there's been a lot of reports in the paper, and there was even an article in the MMA magazine in July. the single sort recycling market, primarily because of China, who was one of the major users of that source material. China have imposed very strict cleanliness standards because they were tired of having to deal with all the contamination, as well as they just stopped purchasing. So as a result, the market demand has significantly changed. The July 2018 MMA article, recycling market tumbles as China institutes the green sword. That's what they call this. Eco-Maine used to get $100 a ton for mixed paper, so they were receiving revenue. Now, they have to pay about $60 a ton to get rid of it. So what's happened, that whole economic has just changed. And what we found was that whereas before, I guess, people were more inclined to take higher levels of contamination, what has happened is, no, you don't. Eco-Maine will actually charge you more and more if your contamination is at a higher level. So when the committee and all of us put it all together, it's just not a market. It's just not working. And what we end up doing is having a very costly collection system where most of the single sort material is ending up going to the dump anyway.
Yep.
So what we figured is the only practical solution, at least in the short term until something else changes, is rather than go back to the trailers, which we used to have, which was costly, is actually go to one recycle over in Waterville and just pay them to allow Winslow residents to bring over sorted material. So,
Do you have any idea how that's gonna work? Is a Winslow resident gonna get a sticker or something, or what?
Mike,
Yeah.
I don't know what the combination was.
No, no. He won't be, like, for example, like asking, the folks where they're from. It will allow us to advertise and to promote people to bring their recyclables over there. I had my wife do a little undercover work. She took some stuff over just to see if it was user-friendly, and she liked it. It was, you have to sort your own. There's some stuff they don't take, so we're learning, what they will and won't take. But the good news is, we, Winslow, can still recycle if we go with recycle over in Waterville.
Raymond?
Would it be possible, like, I haven't been there, I've been past the thing, would it be possible on our website to put an educational blip on it to say, the worst thing that could happen is we go over there and then we bring products over that can't be sorted and then they have to bring them back. So if we knew up front what they will take and how we need to package it or how they need to package it, so when they get there, they're not spending a half hour sorting stuff that's sorted before they get to the facility to make it easier.
Right, yeah. Yeah, the committee had talked about getting the word out. So once this is approved, I will do that.
You can do that mailer again.
Yeah, do the mailer, and I'll also find out, what type of materials, he is accepting.
Yeah.
So,
And so, at this point in time, we're gonna pay them a monthly fee. The Winslow resident will go in there and drop off their recyclables into different containers, bottles, cans, whatever they wanna do, cardboard or paper.
correct,
And they won't be charged.
correct.
Raymond?
When will the actual trailers be gone from the library?
November 30th?
Try and get them for the 1st of December, or
Yeah.
whatever date that is.
So you'll be accepting everything till then?
Yes.
Okay. So that needs to be, you
Yep.
know what I mean?
Yep.
Needs to be
Somebody's gonna show up the
communicated.
next day
I'm sure there will
expecting
be.
them to be there.
I missed the last meeting, so I apologize for the questions, but.
But it also gives us a couple of weeks to get the word out as well.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, like Waterville has a single sort recycle program right now. Their recycle is going to landfill?
No,
No?
Well,
Where is their going? They're going
I
to what?
believe it's going to Eco-Maine,
Eco-Maine at a cost of more cost.
because they had a 3-year
I
contract
think so, yeah.
Okay.
with Eco-Maine for a certain price, right?
Yeah.
Now,
No,
I
so
can't
the
predict what's
loads
gonna
can't be
happen.
contaminated.
Right, and of course, Waterville has got curbside. You know,
Yeah.
they've got the split truck. So I don't know what level of contamination they're experiencing. I would expect it shouldn't be that high,
Yeah.
but I can't comment as to what it is. But, you know, I'm pretty sure that most of theirs, if not all of theirs, is going to Eco Maine, which is in Portland, and it was a
Eco
good-
Maine, yeah, well, sorry, Ken.
It was a good system when you were getting $100 a ton to sort it.
Right.
But if you think about the economics of collecting it, bringing it to Portland, and then pay $60 a ton to get rid of it. So I don't know how all that's gonna shake out.
Yeah, they'll have to make a decision in the future after their contract is up.
Right.
To make a decision, because that's gonna, if it stays the way it is, it's gonna add cost to that recycle system over there, so.
I would think,
Yeah,
but-
you would think at some point in time that, unless things change, you know. The sad part about it is, you know, we had a recycle program in the town of Winslow that was doing a percentage. You would think the added foot, you know, of having to go to Waterville will reduce the amount of recycle that the
Yeah, I
town of
wonder if
Winslow
it was-
does.
Yeah, I was curious if we could track, and of course, we don't pick up our own garbage anymore. So we
Well-
can't count the tons necessarily, but maybe the people were I'm wondering if there's gonna be an increase in the tonnage they're picking up because of this.
Good, Mr. Chairman, I'm pretty sure, and Paul can help me on this, but we know the amount of tons
Okay,
that we're bringing up to Crossroads.
okay,
So I
we
get, I
can
get a bill every month from Crossroads.
Okay.
of everything that's hauled up there, and we've been trying to reconcile it with what CMD gives us. And most of the time, it's fairly close, but I think they do a couple slips once in a while, but we're trying to stay on
Okay.
top of it.
okay.
I would say it'd be not feasible for us to get a tonnage that we're bringing up to that facility, because it's gonna be hit or miss. It's gonna be like 5 pounds here,
Oh, yeah.
10 pounds, and we couldn't keep track of it there. It's not going to be.
No, but you could do it.
Could we keep track of the number of residents that are utilizing the facility? Would that be a possibility?
I don't know that they'll know.
Well, you don't sign up when you
You
go in,
don't
you
sign
don't have
up.
a sticker,
Yeah,
so
okay, so.
that'd be tough.
Yeah.
You know, good, Mr. Chairman, for those of us who are older, I can remember when we used to take it over to the Armory Road.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, and there were the bins and
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
hauled everything over, so, and that was relatively efficient. Now, I don't know if people will do the same, but this is not uncommon.
No, sure.
Yes. What are their hours of operation in days?
I've got it in my report.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the report enumerated all that.
Tuesday through Saturday, 8 AM to 3 PM.
So it means people that are working are gonna have
Tough time.
a tough time using this.
Really, I work and I take mine on Saturdays.
Still a lot of people. I'm not saying we shouldn't use it. I'm just saying that's one thing that is gonna be hard. People like me don't have a problem. We're retired.
Well, you can go around and do curbside.
Start doing
Look
it.
at it.
You got a big trailer.
Oh, yeah, big trailer.
You got a big trailer on the back of
You got a
there.
big trailer?
Yeah.
If I might, through the chair.
Yes.
You know, Kenny, I can remember going up on the Trafton Road in Waterville in the late 50s and shooting it on the pile that was on fire. That was that's how we did garbage back in the 50s, you know what I mean? We brought it and we took it out of the trunk and we put it on the fire that was burning at the Trafton Road.
You know, the final comment, you know, I think it's like anything else, that we have to try things, learn from it. There are forces outside of our control which change, and we've got to be able to adapt to that.
I
Now,
think
hopefully, 5 years from now, the world has changed again, and we can go back and do something else. But there was some very good learning that we did.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ken, that this is something we're just gonna have to keep working on year by year and come up with different solutions all the time. Yep. Any further discussion? And I think probably the key component of that is gonna be the communication and telling the people what's going on and not to drive to the library expecting to recycle at the end of this month.
Could we put a notice up at the library explaining what the process is
Yeah,
to?
Paul and I talked about
Okay.
putting
you-
a signage up there.
Apologize for extending it.
Yep. Any further discussion? If not, we'll have is that a roll call
It
vote?
is not. All in favor?
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, passes unanimous. We will now move on to, I think I've got the correct order, Resolution 34. A resolution providing for the use of confiscated funds acquired by the Winslow Police Department. Be resolved by Town Council of Town of Winslow as follows, whereas the Town of Winslow, through its police department, has received funds by forfeiture in various crimes that have been solved, and whereas these funds need approval of Town Council before any expenditure can be made, and whereas the forfeited amount now totals $3,520.72, and the police department is in need of $1,500 from this fund to update their video recording system. Now therefore be it resolved by Town Council, Town of Winslow, the Town Manager is hereby authorized to use $1,500 of the confiscated drug funds to update the police department's video recording system. What is your pleasure?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. And I had number 35 right here. Resolution number 35. A resolution providing for confirming the appointment of Lisa J. Gilliam to the position of Town Clerk. Did I pronounce that?
You did.
Be resolved by the Town Council of Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the Town Council is in need of a Town Clerk, and whereas the Town Manager has appointed Lisa J. Gilliam to the position of Town Clerk effective November 13th, 2018, which is subject to the confirmation of the Town Council. Now therefore be resolved by Town Council of Town of Winslow that the appointment of Lisa J. Gilliam to the position of Town Clerk effective November 13th, 2018 is hereby confirmed. What is your pleasure?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yep. Does she have to be a notary?
I am.
Figured you're a city clerk before, so
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
probably had
notary.
all that good stuff.
Yeah, and a dedimus as well.
Yeah, awesome.
Does she have to be sworn in?
Yes.
Yes. That's all I keep.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously.
You got it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome to the team.
Yes, thank you.
I feel bad for you.
Not yet.
But enjoy it.
Absolutely. Everybody's been very welcoming.
Okay, I think that concludes the regular order of business, correct?
Yep.
And we have two discussion items. Fiscal year 20, education, budget, and development timeline.
You ready to do it now?
Yeah. Goodness, Chairman,
Yes.
I'll lead in. I think that one of the things that we wanted to talk about was to see if we could come up with a plan, I call it a plan, a timeline plan for developing the budget for FY20. And learning from past experiences, we seem to always run out of time at the end, and we're doing a little bit of scrambling and trying to get ballots printed and everything else. So what the idea was to see if there was, some reasonable timeline. By our existing town charter, the school board is supposed to submit their approved budget to the town, or really to the town manager, 95 days before the end of the fiscal year. And that would be March 27th, 28th, something like that. And when you walk back and realize that we have to have absentee ballots available at least 30 days before the election, then it takes us so much time before that to actually print the ballot. And then we have to have the final reading of the second reading of the budget. And then you gotta have a first reading of the budget. It really says that we need to have a second reading of the budget around April 8th, which is the scheduled meeting. So wanted just to see if that would be a reasonable and doable target that we could work at together to put the upcoming budget together.
At least the revenue, that was the expenditures.
Right, right, and of course, yes, that's a great point, Jeff. You know, that we realize that it's not uncommon not to have the state funding known, but if you think about it, what we're really talking about is expenditures. And as we've had to do before, sometimes if the state is late in finalizing the education funding, that we have a provision in that, in the budget that says, we will use town funds to fund what we anticipate, we know is gonna be state funding. If additional state funding comes in, we just back that up so that we aren't using town funds or surplus in most cases to fund the education budget. So principally what we do is we approve the expenditures. And we know that the state funding can sometimes be unknown or unknowable, but at least we can give the voters a reasonable timeline so that when they go in for the validation vote, which will actually be on June 11th, I think, or something like that, that we will have time to do that in an orderly manner.
Go ahead.
Yeah, also, that would give us, if we get it early enough, it would give us more availability of information to put the rest of our budget together with all our other departments. You know, we could actually hold off on maybe this or that if we needed to push some towards that. You know, it was tough going right through the whole town thing and then waiting until that was all done and then see what we had to go with. Nice to have things worked through together.
Yeah, the whole point in my mind is to give ourselves time for quality of thought. If we need to be having workshops, we'll have time to do it. And we aren't at the last minute trying to make a decision when, in lots of cases, we don't have time.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
The superintendent's here?
Yep.
If you'd like for him to-
Come up to the mic.
So just a couple of things. Hopefully, this year, we will have opportunities to work with you and talk to you about things that are happening as we develop and put this budget together. And I understand that has been a frustration, and really through no fault of anyone's, simply because you've had 3 communities and you've had the work being done for the 3 communities by 2 people, essentially. And so when the demands for those individuals at meetings such as this one were required, they weren't able to be oftentimes 2 places at the same time. So hopefully we'll be able to have some meetings this year as we develop. Thought being, perhaps when we have a school board meeting and we're talking about the budget, we invite you folks to that meeting. Either we start the meeting an hour early, or we end the meeting an hour early and have you there just so that we can go over the information with you as well, so that you are prepared and you understand what it is that we're faced with as we work through the process. The other thing, when I saw the few changes that you proposed on this, took the liberty to just run it through Drummond Woodson, just to see if there were any issues with this.
Sorry, Peter, if I could just preface that. What he's talking about, the charter committee, we had come up with some recommendations for the school, for the education department. And so I sent those off to Peter and just asked him to have the school attorney look those over and provide comments. So
yeah,
that's what he's referring to.
First blush of looking at this was just a couple of thoughts that came to mind. The attorneys, after reviewing, affirmed those thoughts. I also sent it to Maine School Management to let them have an opportunity, because they're free of charge. And they had the exact same report back, if you will, that the Drummond Woodson attorney gave us. So I'd like to share this with you if you don't have a copy of this, and just some of the comments that are on the side, I think it might be helpful. So these are your, the changes that you had looked at making.
For the chart.
Yeah, for the chart.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So the comment at the top is pretty straightforward in red. And then when they look at if you look at the comments on the side, it explains why the 95 days are important. Ken alluded to this, in that, you know, they look at the 279s as telling us about revenues, but there are two parts to those revenue pieces. The first part is when we upload to MEDMS, we need to have an accurate number. We can't upload an estimate to that. The second part to that is if you change that 95 days and you make it shorter, you really give us 25 less days for accurate information if we go from the 95 to the 120. So we have 25 less days of prep time and also to receive accurate information from the state. I'm in hopes that with us working together and being able to have meetings as we work through this year, that will take care of and eliminate the concerns that you've raised without having to change that. The other part, and this was I'm switching gears a little bit, but the other part was in terms of school board members and when the elections took place. That was part of that charter. That was another point that you had raised. It's in that second paragraph, the school committee. Elections will be staggered, districts 1, 3, 5, and 1 at large, districts 2, 4, and 1 at large. The concern with that would be you would essentially have 4 people in 1 year and 3 people in the next. And that's a pretty big hole to fill if you have 4 new people. It takes away the opportunity for continuity and working together. You know, perhaps a better situation where you leave that continuity and you wouldn't disrupt the whole process would be something like a 2-3-2 or a 3-2-2 or something along those lines so that we don't lose everybody at once and lose all of the history, the continuity, and the work that we've created.
You know, but Mr. Chairman, that's the way it is now.
Right.
Because this year, there was 4, first year of the 3-year term, there's 4, and then there's 3, and this year there was nobody running. So I think what we proposed was to stagger them over 3 years. Kind of like the way the council is.
Okay.
It's 2, 3, and 3.
Okay, so that actually would work better.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Rather than having 4 leave necessarily, but 4 potentially in the first year and 3 in the second, I think. That's
Correct.
the way it is.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a committee meeting and we discussed that, and so I was gonna contact you and just ask if you folks wanted it like the council is, as opposed to having it like we're doing it now.
Well, we haven't had an opportunity to discuss this as a board at all. That's something that we were hoping to have on the agenda that's coming up.
Currently, the way it works now, you guys change your board within a 2-year period, right? Practically, essentially half 1 year and half the second year.
Right.
And so the proposal would be to string that out to 3 years, is that
Right.
how I'm reading it? Okay.
And, you know, that the idea around the charter, and because it's only been 2 of us working with Mike that have brought these ideas up. So the charter piece, we probably won't bring that to the council before.
Oh, it'll be a while.
It'll be a while. I think that what we were talking about was more of a timeline to see if we all had the same expectation around the budget development. And trying to get that out early enough so we can all take a look at it to see if it is practical. Just, you know, and of course, a good thing about a plan is you can always change it. But at least you're changing from something versus last year, and I know it was rather exciting at the end because we still didn't have a school board approved piece of paper to look at. and for very valid reasons. We're hoping this year we can get ahead of it, and like, for example, the first reading of the education budget, which would implies the school board would have reviewed it and approved it, would be March 11th. And then the second reading would be April 8th, and that would give us a little bit of time, and the 95-day provision would have, existing charter says you should have a school board approved budget by March 28th. So we've essentially picked up 16 days. 16 days earlier to have that school board approved for the first reading.
If I could, in what Peter also gave you too, you had mentioned before about the absentee ballot. I know you just got it, so you haven't had a chance to read it. This does address how the vote time period works in regards to that and absentee ballot provisions and such. So
good,
something for your review that might affect that timeline.
If you could take a look at that bottom box, because that is an important point for leaving the days as is.
well, it says within 30 days, if I'm reading this right? Within 30 days, it could be more, it could be up to 45, the absentee ballots are available. And that the referendum has to be held within 45 days of when the town council adopts budget. So I think that still works.
Did you read the red box over on the side, Ken?
Over on the side.
Yes, it's within 30 days approving the budget. In other words, the normal absentee ballot voting procedures for state or local elections cannot be used.
So that's why we haven't had a problem with that in the past.
But if the ballots have to be available,
You'd be out of sync with everybody else, I believe, if you did that, and that's what they're trying to say. It would be a good thing to avoid, to be out of sync.
yeah, I think we may need to look at that a little bit more because we put out absentee ballots, don't we?
For the school validation vote, yes, we do.
So really what we gotta determine what's the minimum amount of time that we need to get absentee ballots available, right?
Yep.
So are you questioning whether we need 30 days or less?
I think you have to look at state law.
I'm questioning what the state law is on this one and what the interpretation is.
Okay, well, we'll probably have to do a little research on that.
I guess also my biggest pitch is this is our first year in putting a budget together, and hopefully with more time to work with you, and we're in hopes that in itself will make a difference without making changes as we flow in.
I think, I can't speak for all the council, but I think that we would be glad to collaborate and understand, because the thing that, for those of us who like to avoid crisis management, last year was rather exciting. There was a few exciting moments when we found out that we were contractually obligated for a catch-up payment. Again, those things happen, I'm not complaining, but I just really think that we've got the potential to get ahead of this and work at it in an orderly manner. That's all I'm saying.
Basically, we need a budget that has passed through us for the school.
Right.
That's ready and able to be printed, and an absentee ballot early enough so that if I'm one of the people that wants to, if I'm gonna be gone somewhere, they'll be able to vote on it. Not saying there'll be many.
Right.
And not end up being stuck as the date of, in June, that is required for election, that, you know, we're not ready, then what happens?
You know, good, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
how
go
about if we did this? I know that Mike and I and Jerry talked a little bit about it. I've got another draft. I'll give this to Mike, and if Mike would then get that to you folks and see if these things make sense as far as the dates. And like I said, you know, I don't think these are cast in absolute concrete, but if we all have the same expectation, I think it will allow us to be working at that, rather than wait, and then at the end, we're scrambled.
Right, and you know, the other thing is, if you left all alone and you look at what those dates would look like as well, to do a comparison and see what that looks like for us. We've already started with the basic foundational buildings of the budget. We've already had some figures put in. And so the administrators have been told that the budgets are open, they need to start building. And we're having conversations about what that looks like. My hope is that they have their information in when they return from Christmas break. That's my hope. And so from there, then we can start having meetings and having conversations about what is there. Again, the concern is that 279. I mean, that's I know that's a revenue source, but that's pretty important for us to know.
But,
You okay?
but I'm sure, it's not, and I say this facetiously, but we all heard the campaign promises. I fully expect 55% education funding and the restoration of revenue sharing.
Yeah,
That would be awesome.
that would be nice.
But as Plan B,
We would like
we
that
ought to
too.
get together and work it.
Oh, there's no question. There's no question, and you will be invited.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Any more questions? Go
And
ahead.
I think in, you know, for transparency, if you're seeing anything on the budget, you know, in your initial budget, that you need to communicate to us about, here's something that's overrun, here's something we didn't expect, here's something that happens. Being prepared and having knowledge of that going into the budget season, you know, is just important to us, that we have that. You know, there's things that happen and things that are affecting your budget. Any knowledge
I will
makes so much difference.
I will be so transparent with you, Ray.
Yeah. No, but there's
I'm
things
giving
that
you-
happen, you know, last
I-
year.
Like the
it
teacher
wasn't.
contracts.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
And, you know, we need to know even now, you know what I mean, as far as educate us as to, you know what I mean, why and what the funding and what the challenges that you face.
Sure.
And once we know that, we know the challenges of the Public Works Department, of the Fire Department, of the Police Department, we know those challenges, and we react to those challenges by, like, especially what Ben said, I think is so good, is that we put off something one year so that we can do this and make up for this, and we push things away, and having that knowledge for the other department budgets is just, Ben, I think you said it, you know, really well, that that's what we need to have, is that knowledge of, beforehand, even with the other departments.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks a lot.
Mike, here's that latest
So you're still gonna plow snow?
Yeah.
Okay, if we're done talking with the education budget for now, we move on to the next discussion item, which was the Public Works snowplow route.
Mr. Chairman, Paul has a proposal.
So this came from Paul, he wants to make an adjustment?
Yep.
contract.
You won't have a job pretty soon if you keep subcontracting all
Yeah,
this
keep the
stuff.
roads paved. We overlap with Nitrum's plowing for Benton Ave, for the town of Benton. We overlap on the Eames Road, we overlap on Quinby Lane. Last year, because Eames Road has no appropriate place to turn around anymore, the old Eames farm got blocked off. They suggested, and I have kind of agreement, that we would swap and we would do all of the Garland Road up to the Eames Road and do all the Eames Road. And they would do the Quinby Lane for us. they're getting the short end because they're picking up an extra mile, we're picking up 6/10 of a mile. But, speaking with Mike, I wanted to bring it up to the council. We're gonna, right now, it's just basically me talking with the contractor. I'd like to make sure we talk to Benton themselves if they're agreeable to it. It would save both of us time, because most of the time we pass on the Garland Road, we get to the town line, pick up, go up the Garland Road, turn into the Ames Road, drop the plows back. Half the time we plow it anyway, if we're ahead of them, just for safety for our plow truck. And the Quimby Lane, well, there is a turnaround, but it's also difficult for them to turn around as well, so that was the
Makes sense to
proposal
me.
that it's just the idea, you know, we wanna make sure that they're on agreement too, because like I said, we've been talking to the contractor, maybe Benton's Board of Selectmen may not be
Right.
in favor. You know.
Stop it, Mr. Chairman, would we develop a agreement, I'll call it a,
Interlocal agreement, so to
right,
speak.
because we would have to involve Ben, right?
Well, it would be better. I mean,
Right, you know, just to make sure that town of Benton is in agreement, and then we have, I call it a private agreement, but it's not, between the town of Winslow and the Nitram folks.
Yeah, because my question would be, is there any liability, for instance,
Yeah.
if we're plowing a Benton road and we do something, or if they're plowing one of our roads, and, you know, there's gotta be something there we have to talk about, for sure. Yeah.
And it has to be recorded. I mean, this isn't something, well, I'm gonna do this,
There
but
there
I'm
certainly
sorry
makes
I
sense,
couldn't.
from a common sense point of view, it makes
Yeah,
a
Well,
lot
that's
of
why I
sense
want to
work,
bring it
yeah.
to you guys. I mean, it makes sense down here, but we gotta make sure it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know.
I would pass it by our attorney in that you're looking at agreements, and those agreements between Winslow and Benton's fine. But when you start writing an agreement with a contractor, you wanna make sure that that is kosher. Yeah, because we're hiring somebody to plow ours. And we'll say, we'll plow yours. So you're switching. You're doing, and this is done.
Mutual aid.
Excuse me?
Mutual aid.
Well, not even mutual aid.
It's more like a barter almost.
Yeah.
It is, 'cause DOT does it all the time. He has a compact area.
Would the next step be between Paul and Nitram, or between you and Benton?
Well, you've already talked to Nitram.
I've talked to Nitram, but I think the agreement needs to be between Winslow and Benton.
Yes.
And almost, the contractor really is kind of immaterial.
Right.
Contractor's gonna do what you tell him to do.
What Benton tells him to do.
Yeah, what we tell him, you know. So
And,
Benton,
you know, we
knows-
can put something in there.
Winslow and Ben?
Yeah.
we do our own plowing, but Benton contracts theirs out.
Correct.
Do you run into that anywhere else, Albion, Bassaboro, China?
Not really, not really. But that's kind of unique between the Ames Road, because the property line is.
Because of where the property line is,
It's part of there, same with the Garland Road, and we're already passing there.
Right.
You know, my truck doesn't turn around on the Ames Road. He goes down, hits the Garland Road, goes out to the Albion Road, turns around, comes back. And all he's doing is picking up his plows, and like I say, sometimes he's still sanding because it's icy.
Yeah, yeah.
For his own safety. And what happened last year, precipitated that a little bit, one of the big storms I had last year, one of the Nitram's trucks got stuck on the Ames Road. Or she actually hit a driveway, ripped her wing off. The next guy came to try to help her out, he backed into the driveway, got stuck. They fell way behind, so we ended up cleaning the Ames roads for the rest of the storm to help them out. I mean, we do that. So we've been throwing that back and forth of what would work better, you know. For them, they'll come down the Garland Road, pull into the Ames Road, turn around and head back towards Benton, and then we do that with the other route, you know. It just needs to be done right so that we're not, you know, creating a liability for anybody. You know, if somebody sees Nitram's truck plowing the Quimby Lane, why are they plowing in Winslow?
Yeah. Or why are we plowing Benton? They're gonna question that, yeah.
What if there's an accident on Quimby Lane and we're not doing it ourselves?
We're not plowing it, right?
Nitram is plowing it.
I mean, if we get a call, I mean, if we get a fire call or something out on Quimby Lane, it's still our road. I mean, we're still gonna respond and make sure that it's safe if we have, you know, a rescue truck out there or, you know, that type of deal. You know, we're not gonna shirk our responsibility,
Sure.
but in the normal plowing operations, we just soon drive by it and just keep doing our route.
So do we need to ask, the town manager and Paul to pursue this? Is that what you are?
Basically, yes, getting permission to pursue this.
So is that something that we want to do, I guess? Without having to have a show of hands, anybody?
Can we just authorize him to start a conversation with them?
Right.
Yeah. Bring it back to us, whatever they come up with. Yeah, I think
We should have done this probably a little earlier in the season, but it's like everything else, we're just,
We're not gonna have one on.
we don't think about it till it starts snowing.
That's right.
Jerry does snowball, he'll take care of it this Friday, so.
Sounds good.
Any further discussion?
No.
The only other thing would be that when we write up the agreement, that we should have a clause in there and attach the agreements from the town of Benton to their contractor.
Yeah.
No, we should have a clause, I mean, if we realize it's not working, then we have the opportunity
Opt out.
at the end of the season or something to opt out and say,
Yeah.
we go back to do your work in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right now, they have a very responsible contractor.
I mean, how do you guys work on the two bridges? Does one town do one bridge and the other town do the other bridge, or?
As in Waterville?
Yeah, Waterville, Winslow, for
It's
instance.
usually first come, first served, which is usually yes. Whoever goes out first, then.
Is the town line right in the middle of the bridge?
Yeah, pretty much.
Just cut it in half.
Yeah.
If they're out earlier, come across turning Winslow, if we're out earlier, we'll go out turning Waterville.
Had Wyman Bog come out today.
I don't know, I guess they went out to see how it's ended, but.
He device.
We were out early this morning.
Yeah, no.
Everything else melted, this one place that didn't melt.
Want much sun today.
It's just, it's a dirt road.
Paul, you need a helper? I'll volunteer the fire chief.
I got a new truck.
Put it in the new town clerk's responsibility. Hey, Dad, you missed a one.
No.
I did.
Everybody else did. We'll have to
Oh, I
send
bet
out
they
back as
probably
well.
go with the liquor licenses, that's
Oh,
okay,
it
yeah.
probably goes with liquor licenses, but I'll
I'll
keep them
hold
with
right
you
on
so
to
you don't lose them.
I didn't have it, I put it back there, Ben.
I don't know if I've signed everyone or not. There's too many of them. We'll find out at the end. Okay, are we done? Any more items for discussion?
Motion to adjourn.
Been moved to adjourn, is there a second?
Yep.
Meeting is adjourned.